Next story. All right, esports. Will it surpass the Super Bowl? Will esports become the new sports? That's an interesting topic for me, because I happen to think in our future, at least our children or our children's future, I think at some point video gaming and esports with video games like League of Legends and these types of games will actually be more popular. They'll translate easier around the world, around the globe. Okay, but Rick Fox explains why LOL Esports will eventually surpass the Super Bowl. He's a gentleman who owns a League of Legends team, and he happens, obviously, he's a little biased. He's saying that esports will surpass the Super Bowl. I don't think anytime soon, but I do see. I mean, look at the size of look at this, man. It is packed to the gills. It is packed to the gills right now. We're in 2019. And you can see it just gaining more and more popularity. Now, interestingly enough, this is where it gets interesting. There was a gentleman named Mark Cuban who actually owns the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Mark Cuban is on a show called Shark Tank. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but when I start this clip, you'll know who Mark Cuban is. I think most of you. He's a guy who's on Shark Tank. He owns the Dallas Mavericks. He's into sports. And a long time ago on Shark Tank, like years ago, he said that he thought esports was the way of the future, but he has since changed his tune. Now, this is really interesting to me because he was all for it, all gung-ho. Long time ago, I think he actually put some money in it. He's all about making investments and making money on his investments. Now he's saying he thinks owning an esport in the U.S. is an awful business. So he has changed his tune. Let's hear why he thinks so.
I heard that you said that you would not buy a League of Legends team last year because of player overload.
Yeah.
Do you still think that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's done.
Yeah, I mean, you know what the meta is, right? And so they change everything all the time.
I love when Mark Cuban says meta. He sounds really old when he says it, but it's an interesting take on it.
Whether it's Overwatch, whether it's League of Legends, Fortnite for that matter, it's not really an esport, but still, when it's a 5 person team and the meta changes every 90, 120 days, it's like a whole new game. And so you have to, it's so competitive and it's so...
So he's saying that because the meta changes on games like League of Legends, these MOBAs, these competitive MOBAs that are turning into like the esports genre that we're seeing, he's saying because the game developers like Riot change the meta every 3 months, that it essentially becomes a new game. I agree with Fox. He's not wrong there. So it's really interesting because it's up in the air. I might put a poll on this and a vote down below in the description for those still watching and interested, because it is kind of like a 50-50 decision for me. There's parts of me that feel like Rick Fox, or that Rick Fox is correct, because I can see the amount of people at these events, right? And they grind through kids, man. They just grind through the kids like a meat grinder. And every 3 months, if they can't stick up with that meta, if they can't figure out how to man up and figure out that new meta, then they just drop off and teams buy another player. And they don't care because the industry's like, screw you guys. You guys got to keep up with the times. Here's the new meta because of the game publisher changing the meta, and they'll get another player. Simple as that. So it's not as if it will go away, because you're just going to find replacements. And that is hard on those that are involved in esports, that are playing the games. It is definitely something that is very difficult to do for some. But interestingly enough, when Mark's talking about this, it's from this kind of opposite side of the spectrum, where he says it's going to affect the game, period, because of how Riot and other publishers out there change this meta. So this is something that the game publishers maybe need to look at as well. Maybe they need to extend it. I know I'm this way about a lot of things, not even just games, but even platforms that I stream on, like Twitch. Twitch is always changing always changing the workings of how their platform goes. Every 3 months, I got to correct my streaming software and all my alerts, and it's tiring for me as a content creator to keep up with the shit on the platforms, let alone those that are very involved with, games like League of Legends. So I get what he's saying. It is something that might tire out a lot of the players in the field, but I'm wondering if it's going to have any negative impact at all if people like Rick Fox are just getting another kid. Like, hey, dude, come on, this guy's out, you're in. It's interesting. So maybe I'll put a vote to that. It's great to see you guys talking about it over here. I'd like to see some comments down below as well. But I thought a really interesting topic. And all right, I will see you guys on the next vid.